personality is not seeing things as they are. The personality believes that it exists within a physical body. The personality believes that it's real, believes that it is what you are, believes that happiness must be pursued because it's not already the case. These are the common understandings and beliefs that humanity shares as personalities. And so through these practices and teachings, what they say is that you wake up and you begin to see things as they actually are. And when you see things as they actually are, you can interact with reality. Not what you believe, not what you think, but you can interact with things as they actually are. And when you interact with things as they actually are, you can experience the results that you are interested in, because now you're making contact with things as they are, and that's where the results can be had. What does it mean, see things as they actually are? Well, one reality of it is that the way it actually is, and my teacher described it this way: human life is a temporary situation. That's actually the way it is. It's a very temporary situation. And human life is a situation in which you could use a metaphor to describe it. It's like somebody is in a rowboat, their life begins, and they're rowing out to the middle of the lake. So they're born and they're rowing out to the middle of the lake. You can't, and there is a hole in the bottom of the boat, right? So the inevitable is there. You're rowing out to the middle of the lake. You can't go back, and the boat's going to sink. That's a metaphor for a human life. Or another way you could talk about it is to say, it's like there's a building that has 3 floors. On the top floor, everybody's partying, and the bottom floor is on fire. That's the reality of human life. It's a temporary situation, and the way most people deal with this predicament or this temporary situation is to deny it, to ignore it. That's called ignorance, right? So the being in the rowboat or being on the 3rd floor of the house, everybody's just busy pursuing happiness. Everybody's just busy trying to get the most out of the situation, trying to survive. So this is what's meant by seeing things as it really is, to come to face with the reality of your mortality, for example, to know that this is temporary, this will end, this situation is going to come to an end, sooner rather than later. And if you're as old as I am and some of the other people in this room right now, you know what I mean by that. Sooner rather than later, it's going to come to an end. And if you don't deal with the truth, if you don't see it for what it is, if you don't deal with your mortality, if you don't deal with the temporariness of it all, then you will find yourself in a condition. And the Buddha said the first noble truth is life is suffering. Most people don't understand what he was talking about. What he was talking about is life is suffering for people who believe they're a personality. Life is suffering. If you are experiencing life the way it typically is experienced by most of humanity, it's suffering, right? Because you believe you're something that you're not, which is this personality. And the reality of it is, because people are living in ignorance, ignoring the truth, that if you're ignoring death, if you're ignoring the end of this temporary situation, you don't realize it, but by doing that, you create a situation where the most important thing in your life is to survive, right? Because you're not dealing with the truth of your death, right? That's kept out of your awareness, right? So you can focus on life, but you can't really experience being alive and enjoy your life because you're too busy avoiding your death. You're too busy ignoring your death. And so your life becomes about survival. The personality's constitution is about surviving. Surviving as a personality, what does that mean? To survive as a personality means that you survive by being in control. You survive by not being dominated. You survive by dominating and resisting being dominated. You survive by being right and not being wrong. That's how personality survives, right? And so if you're in a situation where you're in conflict with another personality and both systems are programmed to survive by being right and not being wrong, and both systems are surviving by avoiding being dominated and dominating. And so if you have two people or two groups or two countries that come into conflict that way in terms of survival, there are going to be some people that are going to be dead right. That's what's going to happen. Right? People will give up their body in order to be right. That sounds crazy when you look at it, right? But it's going on all over the place all the time. People are giving up their body to be right all the time. Right? So this is what's meant by seeing things as they are. If you stop ignoring death and you contemplate it, you actually allow yourself to be aware of it. You actually allow yourself to think about it, to look at it, you know, to come to an understanding about it. And if you use the teachings and the practices over time to do this, what happens is there's a transformation. There's a transformation because the personality's understanding of reality is life sucks and then you die. Right? You've heard that, life sucks and then you die. There's a lot of versions of that, right? The transformation that takes place through the practice of the teachings and the practices is instead of life sucks and then you die, life is a wonderful, magical, mysterious adventure that you're experiencing that's exciting and interesting and you don't die. That's the transformation. From life sucks to life is wonderful. From you die to you don't die. And the beauty of this is that this transformation is from the ignorant state of being asleep and living in a belief system and a thought system to the actual reality of the situation. The good news is, the truth is that what the transformation that takes place and as you begin to experience things as they are, means that the truth is that life is exciting. Life is a mysterious adventure and you don't die. That's the possibility. And that possibility has already been realized. This is the best part of the teaching. That possibility has already been realized. What you are is already that. What you are is, you know, Nisargadatta, a famous non-dual teacher, there's a famous book of his teachings called I Am That. You are that too, right? And that which you are and that which he was and is already the case. You are already free. You are already experiencing well-being in terms of happiness, satisfaction, peace of mind. That's already the case. Well, if that's already the case, you may say to me, I'm not experiencing that. You're telling me that's already the case, but I'm not experiencing that. Yeah, you're not experiencing that because you're too busy being in the life of the personality. That's what the Buddha meant when he said life is suffering. Life is suffering when you think you're something you're not. Life is suffering when you believe that the only way you're going to be happy is to pursue it. When you believe that the only way you're going to be peaceful is to somehow pursue it, somehow find it, somehow get it out there in the world somewhere. The only way you're going to be satisfied is to pursue that satisfaction. And so everybody in the realm of the personality is preoccupied. They're preoccupied chasing the happiness, chasing the peace, chasing the satisfaction, and so forth. And this is the majority of humanity, right? So because this is the majority of humanity, everybody agrees and believes that this is reality, that this is the truth, that this is all there is, so you better play full out here. Give this all your attention. That's why there is no awareness of the truth, because you're preoccupied. And given that this is already true, it's not necessary to do anything. in order for this experience to be the experience that you're experiencing. It's not necessary to do anything because it's already the case. Well, then you may say, well, then how do I have that experience? Well, how do you have that experience is what you have to do is you have to gradually unhypnotize yourself from being a personality. How do you do that? By practicing meditation, by sitting quietly and being still and moving your attention away from this activity. This is the thinking activity, to start to move your attention away from this activity. And if you practice moving your attention away from this activity consistently every day, this reality starts to show up, right? You know, one of the ways my teacher talked about this when I was up at the retreat is he said, when you're practicing meditation, when you're following your breath and you're staying out of your mind, you know, when your attention is following your breath and you're being yourself, which is when you're following your breath, you're being the awareness of the body breathing. So you're being yourself. Right? Yeah. When you're doing that, because of the fact that you are reducing the amount of time that you're experiencing yourself as a personality, the light of the truth starts to come through. It can't come through when you're 100% blocking it and 100% believing in something that's not actually true and real. It can't come through, right? Because you're in the way. You know, that's why they say, a lot of the teachers say, that the freedom that's available in this possibility is not freedom for you, it's freedom from you. Because you're the problem, right? And the thing that makes this a little complicated and a little dicey is that you're the problem, but you're being the problem. You're being the problem. So when you're presented with the truth, the personality, which is identifying itself as the personality, being the problem, right? Thinking that that's real and that's true, right? Resists and rejects the truth, right? Because the personality sees it as a threat. Personality sees it as a threat to its survival. And its survival is its primary function, right? Because its life is resisting its end. It's resisting death. It's resisting the finality of mortality, right? If you stop resisting the finality of mortality, guess what happens? Life starts to be the way life really is. Exciting. Because you accept the fact that there's going to be an end to the party makes having a good time at the party important, right? Like that. That's why people who get a terminal illness, get a terminal diagnosis, right? It is the case in the literature. There's a lot of evidence where people have reported that they got a terminal diagnosis, say for 6 months, right? And then in many cases, there were mistakes made and people find out that they actually aren't going to die. And then they get depressed. And they say, well, why are you getting depressed? You found out you're not going to die. And the person said, I was never happier in my life than after I found out I was going to die. You know, I never enjoyed life. I never experienced the beauty of it, the value of it, the excitement of it until I had to accept the fact that it was going to end and it was going to end very soon. Okay? And then when I found out that wasn't true, I got depressed because now I don't know when I'm going to die, so I can start being stupid again. That's the effect of the truth. You know, the effect, if you start to see things as they are and you realize in order to be in this life, what had to happen is you had to forget your true nature and take on the identity of a personality in a physical body. That's what has to happen to be in this life because it's a time-space life. And in this life, we are separate from one another. That's what makes it so interesting, you see, even though it's not true, right? And so there's a mechanism called the ego that occurs and that has you forget your true nature. Right? But even though you've forgotten your true nature, it's still there. It's still true, right? You've just been blinded. They call it the blind spot. You have a blind spot about your true nature, right? So you've been blinded. But then you can hear about this possibility, you can hear about these teachings, and the reason it resonates and the reason it feels important and valuable and interesting and attractive to you, right, is because it is already the truth of who you are and you're already experiencing it. That's why it's resonating with you, because you're already experiencing it. That's why it feels right, because it's already the experience of what you are. It's not something that's going to happen, it's something that has always been the case. What happened was the forgetting of that. That happened. That's why they say the real birth is the birth of the personality, not the egg and the sperm meeting and then the growth of the fetus until the fetus comes out of the mother's body, right? We think that's the birth. No. When the baby comes out of the mother's body, the baby is still in an experience of awareness. The baby has no ability to conceptualize or think about anything. It doesn't know itself to be separate from anything. It's still in the state of awareness, right? That state of awareness ends when the baby's mind is developed sufficiently to have the thinking facility operate, and then it makes contact with the pre-existing reality that's there, and that reality tells it you are a separate self. That's the birth. That's the real birth, right? And the death is the death of that personality, right? That's the real birth. And when the body dies, the personality dissolves with the body, right? However, the awareness, the natural state, the truth of who you are, wasn't born and doesn't die. It was alive in the mother and the father, in the sperm and the egg. It was alive, and the cells have consciousness, and then they combine. So it's alive, and it's still alive when it combines, and then the baby is alive, and the baby comes out, and the baby then forgets its true nature and lives a human life. But there is no death. It's alive, and there is a human life that happens, and the alive awareness is there all along, and when the body dies and the personality dissolves, the alive awareness is still there. The reality that you and I live in this world is a function of agreement, isn't it? If you look at it, you can see, it's all a function of agreement. We agree, and people lose their understanding of that. And, we agree that things are the way they are. We agree that these pieces of paper that are green are valuable. We agree that these rocks that we dig up from the earth called diamonds are valuable. We agree about all. We agree that we're separate from one another. We agree that you have to pursue happiness. These are the agreements that we all share, and we consider that to be reality, and it's not questioned. So for the person who becomes the personality, right, it is real. It is real, and it is what they really are, and they're beginning to experience being that in the world as a separate self, and then the game is on, to get as much as you can, to try and succeed in pursuing happiness. It's ironic, really, because you're chasing something that you always have. It's ironic. You're chasing peace, happiness, well-being, and satisfaction, and it's always there, but you've been ignoring it. So if you stop ignoring it, you start experiencing it. By practicing meditation, you're stopping ignoring it, and you're starting to allow yourself to make contact with the truth. You're allowing yourself to make contact with the actual reality, with the actual nature. And as that happens, the lights go on. That's called enlightenment. As that happens, you wake up. You start seeing things as they are. You realize that you don't have to go to the party to have fun. You are the party. But if you really want to know what it is, it's you. You're experiencing it right now. And you can't know it as a concept. And yet you're experiencing it right now. If that wasn't there, you wouldn't be here. But it is there, and you are here. And it's always where you are. No matter where you go, right? You call it here, and you call it now, and you call it I, right? And the I is this. It remains a consistent way of expressing your identity, isn't it? I am here. I am there. I am this. I am that. But it's I, right? And one of the teachers, Ramana Maharshi, one of the teachers, when his student said to him, listen, you've told us that silence is the most powerful teacher, but we ain't getting it. So could you give us something else to work with, right? And he said, okay, well, you can start using this process called self-inquiry. Okay, how do we do that? Ask yourself, who am I? This I that you say you are all the time, ask yourself, who is this I? And start the process of looking to see if you can find it. That's the process of self-inquiry, right? Now, the thing about that, the reason that Ramana Maharshi gave people that process to use is because he knew they're never going to find the answer, because there is no such thing, right? But you have to go through the process of attempting to find it in order to finally realize it's a waste of your time because there's nothing there. The true teaching, and see, the thing is this, whether we're talking about the most fundamental aspect of the teaching, right, or some of the other aspects of the teaching, like predetermination, no free will, right? You have to accept the possibility that the truth is true. So one of the most fundamental teachings of the truth is called no self, that there is no self, there is no I, there is no separate self. It's called non-dualism. If there is no separate self, it means you and the universe are the same thing. There is nothing separate. The universe is happening through you right now, right? But there is no separate self. So if you believe otherwise, and then you hear this, and then you start to grapple with it in terms of, well, that doesn't fit, that doesn't make sense to me, right? It's going to be a hard road to hoe for you, if that's the way you're approaching it. It's like somebody was talking to my teacher about free will, and of course that's a common problem for people in terms of understanding the concept of no free will. And he interacted with the teacher back and forth about it for a while, and finally the teacher gave up. The reason the teacher gave up is because he was coming from a belief that there is free will first, and then trying to understand no free will. That's going to be a hard road to hoe. That's going to be a long, hard process. So there's no point in that. The thing, if you want to really experience things as they are, experience the truth, you have to take this teaching of no self, or this teaching of no free will, right? And consider it as a real possibility, not in contrast to what you already believe. That's going to set up a lot of conflict and a lot of mental craziness, right? Just consider it to be a real possibility. What if it's true that there is no self? What would be the implications of that? How would that change things? Maybe that's what they mean when they say you are in the world but not of the world. There is no self. And in terms of free will, as far as free will is concerned, this is now scientifically proven to be the case. There's no free will. Any decision that you make, it's not hard to see this. Any decision that you make, any choice that you make that you consider to be an expression of your free will, if you slow down and pay close attention, it's a process that goes on in the mind, is it not? It's a process of thoughts that occur in the mind, is it not? And where do your thoughts come from? Your conditioning and your DNA, right? So that's already pre-programmed, right? So is there any real possibility of a free choice? All you have to do is slow down and look at it, and you can see the evidence is obvious that there's no possibility of a free choice. Now, we have to operate as if we have a free choice in order to play the game we're playing here, right? But doesn't mean it's true, right? And when you begin to allow yourself to experience the truth, to see things the way they really are, then the possibility of you fulfilling your life becomes available. The possibility of you're actually experiencing the happiness that's always there, the peace and the satisfaction that's always there becomes available. And once that starts to be experienced, it changes your perception of the world. When I came back from the 7-day retreat, when I came home, my wife sent me to the grocery store to get some stuff. And when I went to the grocery store, I came back and I said to her, wow. And she said, wow, what? I said, that's not the same world that was there before I went on the retreat. That's a different world now that I'm seeing. And the world that I'm seeing is much more alive, much more exciting, The unpredictability of it is making it an adventure. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know whether I'm going to be alive tomorrow in this body, right? And everybody that I met when I was in the grocery store, it was like they were my family. You know, that the experience of being related to people, it dramatically changes, because you literally begin, you know, it's like somebody said to one of the teachers, you know, what about other people? How do you deal with life and how do you deal with other people? What about other people? And the teacher said, there are no other people. And if you're having that experience in relationship to being around the appearance of there being other people, right? It's a very different experience. It's a very warm experience, a very loving experience, you know, that you feel that when you know that you are the universe, right? You're in love with the universe. You're in love with life. You're in love with humanity. You're in love with everything, because that's your nature. You know, you have an affinity for everything that's in existence because that's what you are. That's why they say in the Advaita Vedanta teachings, that old saying, what is it, Bob? Satchitananda. They say that that's the teaching, that's the whole teaching, Satchitananda. What's that mean? Well, Sat means existence, Chit means consciousness or awareness, and Ananda means bliss, happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. So you exist. See, that's the thing that people don't realize. The source of happiness is the fact that you exist. That's the most amazing, the most mysterious and amazing reality that you can possibly consider is your existence, But for most of us, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean, okay, I'm here, now what? Right? But if you get that your existence is a miracle, and you are that existence, you don't know what this is that you are, and yet you are it. You're experiencing being it. And if you have an experience of that, seeing it for what it really is, then there's nothing that can compare to the satisfaction and fulfillment that you're experiencing just because you exist. Then you play the game of life. It's a situation in which, if you make contact with the reality of the truth and the reality of what you are, right? In that experience, it becomes possible to realize that this is a dream. Nobody's dying. None of this is really happening. This is all a dream. It's an appearance that's occurring. Now, that's something that's difficult to get until you're actually having that experience. But it's an experience, and it's an appearance that's occurring. But it's a real appearance, right? And somebody who's free from that appearance, right, is experiencing well-being and happiness as a consistent experience, right? And then they are interested in helping other people get free from the suffering that's occurring in this bad dream that everybody's having. The bad dream involves the idea that you are a separate self, that you are a physical body, that you're threatened by other people, that you're threatened by life, that you're threatened by the rest of the world. That's what's going on. That's what the news is. That's what's going on. But it's a bad dream. It was a bad dream that you were having until you woke up and realized your true nature, and realized that your true nature cannot die. Your true nature can't be killed. Your true nature can't suffer. Your true nature is always experiencing fulfillment. And that's available for all of humanity. And if you want to test the truth, right, then make a commitment to practicing something that will allow you to have a direct experience of it, called meditation. Find out for yourself. You know, the Buddha says, if you believe what I say the way you believe other stuff, right, you'll stay stupid. That's ignorant, to just have your life be a function of belief when it's not necessary. You can have direct contact with reality, right? And so find out for yourself. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying or anything that any of the teachers about these things have said. Give yourself the opportunity to practice sufficiently so you can start to get a glimpse of what's being spoken of, and then it's not a belief anymore. Then it's something that's available directly for you to experience, and it's something that's always available for you to experience. And once you taste it, Once you have enough of an understanding for it, right, then it's just natural for you to want to continue to do whatever it takes to have that experience.